The Arsenal versus Manchester City rivalry has reached nuclear heat. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Yes, today's video is going to centre around this Manchester City versus Arsenal rivalry that has obviously been brewing these past couple of years. And yesterday at the Etihad, in a 2-2 draw between these two sides, tempers flared over. It was a game full of brilliant moments, brilliant football, controversy, intrigue, intensity, pressure, all of those sort of incredible buzzwords that make the game be what it is to the point where we love it so much. It was a definite throwback to classics of years gone by. The rivalry, though, was turned up just a few extra notches, and that is what we're going to be talking about here today in this video. Before we go any further and talking about that, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. Get involved in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. That will make for great and interesting reading on this video. So please do use and abuse that comment section. People would love to hear what you have to say on this Arsenal versus Manchester City rivalry. But without further ado, let's get on with the video. Let's talk Arsenal versus Manchester City. Yesterday's game was incredible. Yesterday's game was, from a neutral perspective as well, an incredible battle. Right the way from start to finish. For anybody that was thinking this was going to be a very dull game, this was going to be a very cagey affair, two sides that didn't want to give too much away, probably a goalless draw is what it proved to be last season, they were very much mistaken. And the intensity was there to be shown right from the off. When about 5 seconds into the game, Kai Havertz just absolutely runs into and smashes into Rodri. The intensity didn't stop from that point. The ambiguity between the two sets of players didn't stop. The pressure was obviously on. And in the end, a 2-2 draw doesn't really satisfy either team. And I don't necessarily think all the sets of fans were extremely happy with the way the result went, with the way the performances went and everything else. It was definitely a mixed bag of emotion and reaction. Not just in the game, but also after the game as well. And not just by the players, not just by the managers and the coaches and everything when it all blew over, but of course by the fans as well. The game itself, like I say, was incredible. Had brilliant moments of football on the pitch. Had moments of dark arts, mainly by Arsenal, to try and time waste and to try and go down with cramp and things like that nature, trying to be a bit dirty and a bit old school, kind of like that kind of thing. But like I say, had moments of brilliant football. There was some controversy surrounding the referee that both sets of fans won't exactly be happy with. It had everything. Goals, brilliant goals at that. It had everything. It was a beautiful game of football in many a different way. And the intensity, like I say, was there. The ambiguity was there. There was a bit of needle there. There was a bit of an edge to it. The battle was like a throwback. It was like a throwback game to years gone by. I guess most younger fans will probably remember the Battle of the Bridge between Chelsea and Tottenham, where that game had a bit of needle between two sets of rivals. But if you want to cast your mind a bit further back, it had a bit of a resemblance, shall we say, to the years of Arsene Wenger and Sir Alex Ferguson, where Arsenal and Manchester United were at the peak of their powers. This had elements and parallels similar to that. And it's been brewing for some time. And of course, as these two have become title rivals in the past few years, you can kind of see the more and more that these two teams battle, the more and more that rivalry is becoming more and more intense, shall we say. It's not like the Liverpool-Manchester City rivalry where on the pitch, footballing wise, they would just play football that was out of this world, and the quality of football was of a different top draw caliber that we've not necessarily seen before. But there was too much respect there. There was a lot more respect there than what we are seeing. And that was a different kind of rivalry. That was more like a gentleman's kind of rivalry. This one is more of an edge, more of an intense needle ambiguity type of rivalry, which the players resembled on and off the pitch in terms of when the ball was in play, when the game was happening, and when, of course, the full-time whistle hit. The fans' reaction, though, and we'll get on to the players' reaction a little bit more later on in the video, but the fans' reaction is what I want to come to first. A mixed bag of emotion and reaction to both sets of fans, in my opinion. Arsenal fans were, for the most part, extremely proud of their team. They were extremely proud of their team, and I can fully understand why. For the whole of the 45/50 odd minutes that the referee played on in the second half, they defended bravely and valiantly. They were so disciplined, they were so stubborn, and they reduced Manchester City to the barest of minimum of chances. Like, it's still Manchester City, at the end of the day, they're still going to make a few chances and a few opportunities here and there, and David Raya was equal to the couple of ones that they did make, and to be fair, most of them were long-ranged efforts. But Arsenal's defending, especially in that second half, was impeccable, and it was just through a stroke of good fortune and good luck that City managed to get their equalising goal. John Stones being in the right place at the right time, the ball taking a fortunate deflection to deflect into his path, and he just gets there ahead of the defender to stab the ball home. Arsenal fans were extremely proud of their team, and there is absolutely, I don't think you can argue against that. I saw a lot of rival fans. I saw a lot of people question Arsenal's tactics in that second half. Why they're playing so defensively. Why they're sticking 10 men behind the ball. To that, I say, A, it was completely predictable what they were going to do in that situation. You're 2-1 up at the Etihad. You don't want to kind of risk it and go overboard and leave yourself open to counter-attack and maybe even go on to lose the game. So, damage limitation. And that's what they did for the most part, and they were extremely unlucky not to come away with the 3 points. The second part of that is obviously what would you have done? I feel like Tottenham and Ange Postecoglou have really kind of changed people's brains and way of thinking on this. Because if this was Tottenham that we were seeing yesterday, and I'm just throwing this out there because of obviously recent history, they would have had their entire 10 men, well, 9 men, should I say, in the opposition half with the goalkeeper on the edge of his penalty area. I don't know what the game plan would have been for Mikel Arteta had those rival fans been in charge, because that's the way I would have played it to an extent. That's the way that obviously he decided to play it. And I don't understand, like, if this was against a lesser team, with all due respect, I could understand why there would be a bit of animosity towards the way that he was playing. But against Man City, the best team in the world, arguably, I don't understand what else he could have really done in that situation, other than try and get Gabriel Martinelli on the counter-attack, other than try to win free kicks and set pieces higher up the pitch to maybe steal a goal here and there, if the opportunity did arise. So I'm not necessarily sure what these rival fans would have done, and if they would have gone a bit more adventurous, they probably would have ended up losing the game, in all honesty. I don't know. I don't know. I'm a bit confused by what rival fans were thinking of there. But like I say, for the most part, Arsenal fans were extremely happy and proud of their team, and rightfully so. They were annoyed and frustrated at the referee, and again, I can understand why. The consistency factor of yellow cards being brandished for dissent and delaying the restart of the game is becoming very inconsistent, very laughable, and an absolute joke in my opinion. And I made sure to go on at length in my reaction to yesterday's game in that video. So I can understand where their frustration lies there. And then also there were some that were taking the mickey out of Man City fans, because certain Man City fans were celebrating that draw yesterday. And whilst I think, you know what, against a title rival, a draw isn't the worst result in the world, even if you are Man City and you are at home. Man City fans, or certain ones at that, did sort of belittle Arsenal fans for celebrating a draw last season. Now, I know that City have the arrogance and confidence that, and again, this comes on to my next point about City fans, that they can go on and win the league, because some City fans were very relaxed in the aftermath of yesterday's result, claiming that, okay, they got a draw, they weren't at their very best, but you know what? They still are confident they're going to win the league. And, you know, history does tell us that they probably will go on and win the league, in all honesty, especially with the kind of form that Erling Haaland is in. But there are a couple of factors to that which may also suggest that maybe they pushed their luck a little too far this season, and maybe there is another challenger waiting in the wings to cross that line from challenger to winner, i.e. Arsenal. But, like I say, to belittle them last season, only for them to, of course, celebrate this win, how quickly things can change. So, all in all, pretty decent afternoon for Arsenal, in saying all of that. And for Manchester City, like I say, most of them seem relaxed. Some of them were very upset about the game and about the way that Arsenal played. And some of them were annoyed at the referee. And I think both teams have rightful grievances with the referee. City's case was that Kyle Walker wasn't in position for the first Arsenal goal because he was brought over by the referee to talk to him. And then Arsenal went on to take a free kick and exploit the position that Walker had left behind. Again, I can understand the fury, and I can understand where City fans and players would also be upset by that potential thing. But I also think, and I said this yesterday, that I believe that Walker probably could have sprinted back into position as well, if he really wanted to. So I think it's a bit of 50-50 on that part. On the players' reaction to this rivalry, obviously we saw things boil over in the game. We saw Havertz smash into Rodri inside the opening 5 seconds. We saw a number of pushing and shoving. We saw a number of handbags, especially after the game as well. After the game had finished, there was a coming together of sorts. There was a altercation between Erling Haaland and Mikel Arteta at full time, in which Haaland was just saying, stay humble, stay humble. Whether that was advice or whether that was just to really dig the needle in even more, I'm not 100% sure. But there was definitely altercations, there were definitely handbags between the two players, the two sets of coaches, the managers, whatever it may be. This rivalry certainly turned up a few notches yesterday, even off the pitch. Bernardo Silva, interestingly, opened his mouth. Now, for those of you who know, I think Bernardo Silva is a fantastically talented player. But I also think he's a bit of a rat, because sometimes he can't keep his mouth shut. And he said some things about Liverpool in the past that I don't necessarily agree with. And he's done some things to Liverpool that I don't necessarily agree with. But I can't ignore the fact that he is a very talented player. And he had this to say, and I'm obviously just picking out certain quotes here when I put this out there. But he had this to say about Arsenal yesterday. The difference between the rivalry with Arsenal and Liverpool, maybe it's that Liverpool have already won a Premier League and Arsenal haven't. That Liverpool have won a Champions League and Arsenal haven't. Liverpool always faces with an intention of winning the game. Just really, really digging it in, isn't he? Really, really digging it in. Don't get me wrong. The rivalry is intense. The rivalry is exciting to watch, and especially from like a neutral or a bit of an outsider, it is more. It makes it more interesting. I like the kind of narrative and the kind of build up of this kind of thing outside of things off the pitch. And I can't wait for these two teams to meet again. And if they are obviously going to be in a title race, which many expect them to be, then these two teams are going to have another incredible battle when they meet at the Emirates later on in the season. But Bernardo Silva there really digging it in, really rubbing salt into the wounds that Arsenal haven't exactly won anything yet. For me, I don't think it necessarily needs to be said. I like it from the outside looking in at these two rivalries. Get your popcorn out. That's kind of what I would say on this. But I just feel like if Man City aren't that bothered about Arsenal. Why are you saying these things? Why are you digging it in like this? Arsenal had a game plan to win. Well, maybe not necessarily win yesterday, but not to lose yesterday, shall we say. They had a game plan yesterday not to lose, whether it be with 11 men on the pitch or with 10. They had a game plan not to lose yesterday. And that sounds stupid now that I've just said it out loud, but draw, basically. Draw, he would have snapped your hand off at the beginning of the game if you'd have offered it Mikel Arteta. They are entitled to play however they wish, however they want. If you're annoyed by the way a team sets up against you, they're doing something right. That opposition team is doing something right. And like I say, you could see the frustration on some of those City players yesterday. You could see some of the frustration in the City fans yesterday. It was just intense. It was just intense right the way from start to finish, and even in the aftermath of this game in terms of what things were said and what things were brandished out as well. As far as what the rest of the season now goes in terms of my reaction to what happened yesterday, go back and watch the video that I put out yesterday. That will say it all. But you know what? For Arsenal, and with the potential news today that there are some whispers and rumours out there that Rodri could be out for the rest of the season, obviously we hope for him to have a speedy recovery, but that is going to be a huge disadvantage to City and a huge advantage to title rivals and Arsenal in particular. The ball is in Arsenal's court now, in my opinion. They move to being favourites, even at this early stage. They've got a decent run of fixtures coming up, which are all banana skins in their own way. But, in saying that, they are still winnable, favourable games. They're all banana skins. They're all going to be different opposition to what they've faced these past couple of weeks. But it's going to be interesting to see how they do manage to overcome those obstacles. They've already been to Villa Park, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and now the Etihad away from home so far this season. They've got 3 of the toughest games out of the way. I would say that their only really tough game away from home this season is probably going to be Anfield. They don't normally do well at Anfield, in all honesty. That's going to be probably their only real tough game of the season still yet to play away from home. There are obviously going to be tough obstacles to overcome. There are obviously still going to be tough games, but that's their really toughest game, I think, out of the rest of the season. So they've got 3 of their toughest games out of the way and done with. I think the ball is in Arsenal's court, and I think City are a little bit worried. And I think if the news is confirmed that Rodri is out for the season, I think City might start to just look over their shoulder a little bit. I think City might just start to think, hang on a minute, Rodri's out. Arsenal are probably going to take huge momentum from that draw, huge confidence from that draw, especially to do it with 10 men as well. We could be in for a long season, this one. City fans will still be confident, of course they will, and I don't hold anything against you. You should be confident. But at the same time, I think you should just be a little bit wary that Arsenal are right on your tail in this particular instance. I'm intrigued to know what's going to happen for the rest of the season. I'm hoping that Liverpool can be in it, but obviously that's a bit of a long shot in my honest opinion. But we'll wait and see what is going to unfold. But yes, this Manchester City versus Arsenal rivalry has definitely intensified over the past 24 hours or so. These are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of the comments made by Bernardo Silva? What do you make of the intensity and the rivalry between Manchester City and Arsenal? Your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, make for great interesting reading down below in that comment section. So please do use and abuse that comment section. People would love to hear from you all on this. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up and enjoy the video. Subscribe if you are new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your continued support on the channel. Really do appreciate it. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I'll speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Speak to you all again very, very soon.